What's up, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Another episode to be very excited about in regards to the Buffalo Bills. Brandon Beane staying active. Brandon Beane making things happen. As earlier today, it was announced that the Buffalo Bills have signed former second overall draft choice Mitchell Trubisky, quarterback, University of North Carolina, the former Tar Heel turned Chicago Bear, now turned Buffalo Bill. The Bills have signed Mitchell Trubisky as the QB2 of this team. Josh Allen has got a new backup. The quarterback 2 position was something that I talked about in the lead up to this offseason and throughout this past season, in the sense that if Josh Allen were to go down, if Josh Allen were to get hurt, I have a real fear as to whether Matt Barkley could come in for 3 games, 4 games, and do what he needed to do for us to get us from point A to point B. Could he go 2-2 in 4 games? Could he go 3-2 in 5 games? Could he go 4-2 in 6 games? Or would it be 3-3 in 6 games, or worse than that in 6 games? God forbid if Josh Allen were to go down, would Matt Barkley be able to help this team not miss a beat? And luckily, we didn't really have to ask ourselves that question in reality. Josh Allen was able to stay relatively healthy last year. He had some bumps and bruises, but he stayed in games, came back into games, and didn't come off the field. Thank God for that. But now the Bills looked at that and thought to themselves, we are this close to a Super Bowl. We were 1 game away, 1 win away from competing for a Super Bowl championship. It's time to leave, quote-unquote, no stone unturned. Brandon Beane is doing that. He has done that, and he's continuing to do that this offseason by leaving no stone unturned and signing quarterback Mitchell Trubisky to a 1-year deal and ultimately move on from Matt Barkley. It's always tough to move on from a quarterback, move on from any player that has been in your team, been in your locker room for a number of years, and for this time, these last few years, Matt Barkley was just what the doctor ordered for Josh Allen and for that Bills quarterback room. So I have to tip my cap to Matt Barkley and say, thanks, Matt Barkley. Thank you for what you did for this team, as I've thanked Andre Roberts for what he did for this team, as I've thanked John Brown for what he did for this team, Quentin Jefferson for what he did for this team last year, towards the tail end of the year especially. But, man, I have to say, the question is, do I like this move? Do I not like this move? I tell you, when I was out to lunch today and I got the notification on my phone that Mitch Trubisky was coming to Buffalo, I thought, this is pretty cool. I was like, okay, Brandon Beane is doing what he needs to do as far as leaving no stone unturned and improving this roster each and every way humanly possible. The QB2 spot is extremely important. You could say it's arguably the most important backup position that there is in sports, along with the most important starting position, the quarterback. You could debate that, could argue that all day long, but this is a very interesting move, and this is a move that I think is a welcomed addition, and I think there are a lot of Bills fans that were quick to judge this move in a negative way, and I don't understand that. I'm scratching my head on that one, because we knew that we needed a better option there at quarterback. We knew that we needed an option that we wouldn't have to fear. We wouldn't have to have any fears over, Josh Allen going down. Who do we have? Do we have a reliable, legitimate backup? Now we do. We have a 26-year-old quarterback that, guys, I know it didn't really work out too well for him in Chicago, and it was probably better for him to move on, and it was better for Chicago to move on. It was just one of those things that ran its course in his 4 seasons in Chicago. But as far as what Mitch Trubisky brings as a backup, because that's all he is for this team as a backup. This is Josh Allen's team. There's no doubt about it. No debating that anymore. This is Josh Allen's team. But what he does for this team as far as a security blanket in the event that Josh Allen were to go down, I think is quite tremendous. And I think the resume of Mitch Trubisky, he started a lot of games in this league, and let's go, inside the numbers and look at the games that Mitch Trubisky has started. What do the stats look like for a player like Mitch Trubisky? And feel free to comment your thoughts on Mitch Trubisky signing with the Buffalo Bills. As this is streamed live, you can hear it as well on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear your reaction to the Bills signing Mitchell Trubisky. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, pick my brain about anything else related to the Buffalo Bills. I'd be happy to oblige and take your questions on this show. As well, I'm going to give my reaction to the press conference today from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. There was a lot of really positive nuggets to take away from that press conference today. So, Mitch Trubisky inside the numbers. We look at his rookie season 2017. He was the second overall pick out of UNC. He really only had one solid college season at UNC, but rookie year, I don't really put much stock into the rookie year. There was a lot of things, a lot of factors that led to his lack of success. 4-8 as a rookie, 59% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, so nothing to write home about. Total touchdowns, he had 9, 2 of those rushing, 7 of those passing, 10 lost fumbles. That's a lot. But his sophomore season in the National Football League, he was 11-3, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 95.4 QBR, 3,223 yards passing, and a completion percentage of 66.6%. An 11-3 record as a starting quarterback in 2018. 2019, 15 starts, 8-7, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3,138 yards, and a QBR of 83. And then this past season, which I honestly thought was a decent season for Mitchell Trubisky, 6-3, 67% completion percentage, 2,055 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a QBR of 93.5. I thought that was a pretty decent year. It didn't even dawn on me, the fact that Mitch Trubisky was a free agent. Didn't even cross my mind. For whatever reason, it just slipped through the cracks, I guess you could say, as far as Mitch Trubisky being a free agent, being a possible QB2 option for this Buffalo Bills team. But boy, am I glad that he is. And Brandon Beane said specifically today that this is a one-year deal. They don't expect him to be here long. But, man, I think Buffalo has one of the better options in terms of the backup quarterback position. And that's all this is. He's a true backup, 26 years old. He'll be 27 August 20th. Career statistics, 64 touchdowns, 37 interceptions, 10,000 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns. So 72 total touchdowns, 37 interceptions. That's not a bad stat line. And, maybe it just was not a fit in Matt Nagy's offense. I'm very curious to see how this Buffalo Bills coaching staff develops Mitchell Trubisky under guys like Brian Daboll and Ken Dorsey, who, I haven't heard where Ken Dorsey is going, if he is going anywhere just yet. I know there were rumblings of that. So far, so good. He's not going anywhere. Let's get to some comments here. Ken Zintel says, still don't think we filled our needs. I want Ken to elaborate a little bit on that. Ken Zintel, elaborate a little bit. What do you see as needs on this team that have yet to be filled? I'm not disagreeing with you, not necessarily agreeing with you either, but I take what the Buffalo Bills have done so far this offseason, and I say that is Emmanuel Sanders an upgrade over John Brown? I would say in terms of a more well-rounded wide receiver, I would say Emmanuel Sanders is an upgrade over John Brown. I love John Brown to death, but Emmanuel Sanders is a better route runner, better pass catcher. John Brown's just faster, known as the speedier guy. You got to keep in mind, too, Ken, that the draft hasn't happened yet. I think that's going to be a huge facet as far as how this Bills team is going to attack some of their needs. And also, the running back position is something that is going to be addressed one way or another. Sean Reeves says, want a quarterback that plays similar to your starter And I agree with that. Mitch Trubisky can do a lot of similar things in comparison to Josh Allen. He can move outside the pocket. He can throw on the run. Can make plays using his legs. And, I just don't think Chicago was really able to tap into his skill set. For as much as we can blame Mitch Trubisky for not working out in Chicago, we can also blame the fact that Chicago didn't necessarily develop Mitch Trubisky. Kind of threw him in there, hoping that he would be good right out of the gate, and the pieces weren't really there around him in order for him to succeed. With that comes struggle. With that comes regression. And I think that this is a welcome start for Mitch Trubisky to start over and to get a new lease on life. Nick Gualtieri, in the draft, locking up what we have. We didn't have a lot of money to go wild in free agency. And Nick, I want your take on this too. I want to hear your take on how you see, or what do you think as far as how they have used their money? Do you think they've used their money effectively thus far? I think they have. Disagree with me, that's cool. I accept debate 100%, but Emmanuel Sanders, $4.6 million in comparison to what John Brown got, which was more than that. I think that's a pretty good move. Mitch Trubisky on the lighter end of things as a backup for 1 year. It's a pretty good move. I've heard rumblings $2.5-3 million for a QB2. That's pretty inexpensive. So, I think that they've used their money wisely, mainly being able to re-sign their own players in Matt Milano, Darrell Williams, and John Feliciano. Ed Blasick says, it's nice to see these players looking to come to Buffalo. Not a huge Trubisky fan, but it is still nice to see. I agree with that take. I like that assessment that you see the uncharted territory that we're in, that this is a destination for free agents. Are they the most high-profile free agents? Are they the A-list free agents? Not yet, anyway, but you see the narrative surrounding this team is far more productive and positive in comparison to years past, and I think that will only bode well in the upcoming season and in the upcoming seasons after that, and in many years to come. The perception of this team is reality. We were 1 game away from the Super Bowl, and we came up short. Safe to say we came up very short, but we know that we just got to get that little bit better, and checking off those boxes of bringing in veteran experience at the wide receiver position with Emmanuel Sanders, I think is big for guys like Gabe Davis. I know that the Bills' Twitter sphere right now is going wild over the idea that Zach Ertz could become the new tight end for the Buffalo Bills. I would love that. I've always been a, Zach Ertz fan. So keep our eyes on that and see what happens. Gerard Reed says, it was stated that most of the top free agents out there were Bills players and we signed them back. So we did make a mark in free agency. It's a good way to look at it. That's a cool take, productive take there. Positive take, which is always welcomed here on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Yeah, and I think Matt Milano would have been a highly sought-after linebacker, and he agreed to come back here for less money, essentially, than what he could have got had he actually, quote-unquote, tested the market. And, John Feliciano, he took less, probably about $3-4 million less in comparison to market value of what other guards got. And Darrell Williams, I was flabbergasted and thrilled that they were able to bring him back on a multi-year deal, not just a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, but a 3-year deal. I think is perfect for Darrell Williams. He earned it. I thought he was fantastic as our right tackle this past season. Was a very, very solid pass protector for Josh Allen's strong side, allowing him to roll out to the right and find space and make those throws on the run. Sean Reeb says, if you had to pick the weakest position right now on the Bills, what's your take? The weakest position. Honestly, I would say the defensive line would be something that needs to be addressed. I was very disappointed in the lack of production from A.J. Epinesa as a rookie. I know he's a rookie, but a second-round pick. I thought that he would do a little bit more than what he did. I think that there's much needed depth there. We need more of a pass rush. We hurried the quarterback a lot. We didn't actually get to the quarterback enough in 2020. So that's something that I really want to just see that be improved upon. So to say, is it the weakest? Maybe not. The running game was a real problem on offense last year, but I think that had more to do with the offensive line than that of the running game, the actual running backs. And without OTAs, with a rookie running back and Zach Moss, without true OTAs and a true off season with rookie running back Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, not that he's a rookie, but I think it stunted our running game a little bit. With a normal off season here upcoming, hopefully we have some normalcy as far as preparation in 2021. Whether they decide to add to that area or not, a lot of mock drafts have Buffalo going after like a Najee Harris or Travis Etienne or some of these other running backs out there. Those are really the two that have been mainly linked to Buffalo in all the research that I've done the last few months or so. I wouldn't be against those guys. I like Najee Harris. I like Travis Etienne, but I really like who they have. I like Zach Moss and I like Devin Singletary. I'm not fully ready to give up on one of those guys just yet. Especially in investing a first-round pick, and doing so is what we would be doing, be investing a first-round pick and giving up on one of those guys as a starter. So Ken Zintel says, proud of Levi, happy with what we've done, just hope they fill the holes. So yeah, that's another topic. Levi Wallace, he signs a 1-year deal, and Levi Wallace is a polarizing player within this fan base. I feel like some Bills Mafia members really love him for what he brings to the table, and some Bills Mafia members don't. There is inconsistent play there, but I think he is a player that is young. He's a player that definitely was a diamond in the rough in terms of being an undrafted corner out of Bama, making this team, working his way up the depth chart, and being a pivotal member of this secondary, crucial member of this defense. And there were weeks where he played really well last year, and then there were weeks where, sometimes things would get away from him a little bit. I think that's just the mark of a young player in this league, especially at the corner position. If you get beat once, you're likely to get beat again soon thereafter. These quarterbacks are smart. They want to target the corners that have been beaten. And, I think that Levi is, in the eyes of the Bills brass, the eyes of Brandon Beane and the eyes of Sean McDermott, they're willing to see another year through and figure out what Levi's got. And I like that thought of really figuring out what Levi Wallace is made of heading into what is his third or fourth season. It's really tough for me to say that a player is not good enough when he's that green and that young at that position, especially. Usually it does take a little time for a corner to get accustomed, even at the first round corner level, whereas Levi Wallace was undrafted, and he's making an impact, working his way up the depth chart, finding his way onto this roster. So think of it that way. And Gerard Reed mentions that Levi played on the other side of the best DB in the league. Of course, he would get a lot of attention. I personally like him. Glad he's back. That's a solid take as well, Gerard, that I really like as far as, a quarterback is going to target the guy that isn't Trey White. It's just that simple, too. If he beats him once, he's going to get beaten again because the quarterback is going to target him again. Dane Jackson is a factor that I am very excited for heading into 2021, and I really loved what he brought to the table this past season. And prior to Jackson getting hurt, I thought he was really on a course for great things. So throwing that out there as well. So let's get to the next topic of the show. Next topic of the show tonight is that McBeane speaks to the media. Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, speaking to the media today. I really liked what they had to say, and it just hammers home the point that you have two organizations in Buffalo. One of them is the Buffalo Bills. The other, of course, is the Buffalo Sabres. One is a well-oiled machine. The other, you can't even get it on the road. It's in the shop. It's in the mechanic. It's with the mechanic. The mechanic's calling you, telling you, Ryan, I can't get this car fixed. This car is just not worth salvaging. Whereas the Buffalo Bills, they're the Ferrari that you're driving down an open road with the windows down and just appreciating life. That's what I see as the Buffalo Bills right now, and the Buffalo Sabres are just that car that you can't get off the road. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have such a common vision, and that's why this team has been so successful the last 4 or 5 years. And I look at Brandon Beane and I say, that's a guy right there that I've said this, and I've said it during this show. I've said it on a lot of other shows. He leaves no stone unturned as far as making this team great. Bringing in a Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, I know that there were a lot of Bills fans that got that tweet or got that post, got that notification. Hell, maybe you even heard it from me first. I'm not sure. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I was pretty quick on that news. So maybe you did hear it from me. But the fact that they signed Mitch Trubisky, to me, is a positive no matter how you look at Mitch Trubisky. It's a positive for Brandon Beane, because Brandon Beane is willing to improve this roster in any which way he possibly can. And we have Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky, and Jake Fromm as our 3 quarterbacks. That's probably the best 3 quarterbacks that Buffalo has had in a long time. And I'm saying that, throwing Jake Fromm into the mix, who we haven't even seen yet, but skill set wise, knowing what I know from his days as a Georgia Bulldog, that's a 3rd string quarterback that you are excited to develop. You're excited to see him take a bevy of snaps in the preseason. You're excited to see what this 2nd overall pick turned backup can do to redeem himself in the opportunities that he's got. And obviously you have one of the baddest men on the planet in Josh Allen as your starting quarterback. So I'm excited. This makes me excited for Rochester in particular, whether the training camp is at Rochester or not. I think we got one more year left to that, and then maybe something along those lines. I know that's coming to an end possibly soon, but I'm excited for that quarterback, trio to go to work and get in that quarterback room and kind of put their heads together and see what they can come up with to make this offense even better than it was in 2020. That's fun. So Brandon Beane talks about how they're not done yet. They're going to make more moves. They're going to continue to add to this team. And I love that thought process. And Sean McDermott says really what makes this organization click is the fact that we have the people that make it click, whether it's differing personalities molding into one or similar personalities that are just flowing together. It seems like the Bills organization, front office wise, whether it's general manager Brandon Beane, the scouts, pro personnel people, they all are a collaborative unit, and they want to see things go according to plan. They want to see things agreed upon amongst each other and amongst one another. And you see that in the way they speak. You see that in the way they address the roster and address their needs and address where they're at as a franchise. So it's extremely exciting. And Bills fans have every reason to be extremely excited for what's next. I think that there will be more moves made to this team. Where those moves are made remains to be seen, but I know that Brandon Beane is not done yet. And Bills fans are wondering, what is our money situation? What does our cap situation look like as a team? I go to spottrack.com and I check their team salary cap, where we are at, currently with this salary cap. And the Buffalo Bills have upwards of, I would say, not a lot. Not a lot left. But who's to say that money can't be moved around, and who's to say that, we'll make something happen. Something will happen. Right now, it's around $2.1 million as far as where their salary cap is that, and that's not a lot. Okay, that's not a lot, but at the same time, I think that you have a lot of reasons to be happy. You got Josh Allen still on his rookie contract, and you got to kind of spread the money out in that particular way for moments like that, where Josh Allen is going to get more money. He's going to get paid. And, man, I'm excited to see what that turns out to be. Got another one from Sean Reeve. Thanks for tuning in, Sean. Appreciate the support. So let's see. Sean says, what do you think of Carl Joseph for Big Nickel? And for the X's and O's people out there, you guys know what Big Nickel means. For the people that are not X's and O's football fans, Big Nickel means a safety that can cover on the inside as a quote-unquote nickel corner / kind of big nickel, like nickel corner, big nickel linebacker, big nickel safety corner, or a guy that can sub in to cover for a linebacker as well. You can consider a big nickel as that. And I would say that Carl Joseph is a player that I've always really liked. So as far as that particular player, yes, I think that is a player that I would be interested in. But this could be a position that the Bills address in the draft. There's a bevy of guys out there that can fill that role. Most of them actually do come from small schools. One of those guys last year was Kyle Duggar, who went to the New England Patriots. And that was a name that was linked to Buffalo quite often. So we'll see what happens there as far as whether Buffalo actually goes out and makes that move for Carl Joseph, or whether they make that move for a draft pick player in the middle rounds. The big nickel is not a position I would invest a high pick in. I think that there are needs on this team that could be bolstered and reinvigorated on this roster, and the defensive line is one of them. I think they got to keep plugging away at that. They got to get that right. Even though they've invested in that, I think they need to invest more in that, because you need a quarterback and you need guys that can get after the opposing quarterback. And I just didn't see that pass rushing ability out of this team nearly enough. So, I'm extremely excited so far with the moves that they've made. The Bills are a well-oiled machine at this point. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, they're doing what they need to do, and they're doing it their way. And their way is the right way. You can doubt them all you want. You can say all you want, but I think that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have proven that they know what they're doing. Whereas across the pond, sports franchise across the pond, haven't really quite figured it out yet. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. The Buffalo Bills signed quarterback Mitchell Trubisky to a 1-year deal. Josh Allen has got a new backup. He's a former second overall draft choice in the 2016, 2017 NFL draft. I can't even remember what year that was. I think it was 20s. Was it 2016? No. Was it 2016? Yes, 2017. I was right the second time. 2017. Man, that doesn't seem like that was 4 years ago. That's crazy. So, with that being said, I'm Ryan Thomas. You can tune into this podcast on Apple Podcasts. As the ticker says, subscribe to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and feel free to leave a review. The reviews matter. Your review matters. They matter. 5 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, as many. Give me all the stars. Fill the stars. Leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts. It does matter. There's an algorithm to this thing on Apple Podcasts. The better the review, the better it is for the show, and it just makes my day better when I see these positive reviews. I've seen quite a few of them, and it makes me happy. So I really appreciate the love and support. Bills Mafia, always a pleasure chatting with you. Stop back in on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast tomorrow night. The coming days, a lot of guests. Coming weeks, a lot of guests. Coming months, a lot of guests. More guests will be taking part while I take over the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care, everybody.